So Divide and Conquer opens with, quite refreshingly, not a power plant, but actually a factory where the humans are manufacturing weapons to fight the Decepticons. Although clearly not a very good factory, as the Decepticons actually attack it and brush away the human guards with minimal effort. They then proceed to steal the energy from the factory, so it might as well have been a power plant. Unfortunately for them, Chip Chase was actually working at the factory. Boy, that guy gets around. And he's able to put out a distress call to the Autobots. We then cut to Optimus Prime, who's busy looking for the Decepticon space bridge. Unfortunately, that thing moves around. However, after receiving the distress call, he orders the remaining Autobots at the base to proceed to the factory, while he proceeds on his own. Optimus, being the first on the scene, attacks the Decepticons. Unfortunately for Prime, the Decepticons gang up on him, although he is able to put up a pretty decent fight.
I'd rather bash Prime one-on-one, but when Megatron says Thundercracker gangs, you blew it, Thundercracker, but I won't. Wrong. As usual, Skywarp.
Optimus, watch out! That's a heat-seeking missile!
But as you would have it, a stray shot hits one of the computers and it threatens to explode, possibly killing the humans. Optimus Prime, instead of jumping in front of the humans and shielding them, decides to jump in front of the exploding computer. And apparently computers were pretty explosive back then. The cons then shoot up Prime a bit more before escaping when the other Autobots show up. However, the Autobots arrive just a little too late, as Prime's actually been hurt quite badly, and they have to take him back to their base for repairs. But not without having Laserbeak sneak into their base on Brawn's shoulder, who actually takes the opportunity to peck Prime while he's down. After going over all of Prime's damage, they conclude that he needs a vital component or he's going to die, namely a Cosmotron. However, quite fortunately, Wheeljack just happens to have a spare, but rather unfortunately, it's in his workshop on Cybertron, which the Autobots can't get to. So in other words, Prime's fucked. But perhaps not entirely, as Chip tries his hand at finding the Decepticon space bridge by actually using Teletran 1. Meanwhile, we cut to the Decepticons who are actually at the space bridge, shipping the energy back that they stole from the factory. However, just before they do, Rumble points out that they actually need a pilot for this vehicle, so Starscream volunteers one of the reflectors. I can't quite tell which one it is, as it's even more difficult that all three of them appear in the next scene, just as the Autobots show up who actually did track the Decepticons. We then get a nice little fight between the Autobots and Decepticons.
Can't see. The flash shorted my optic sensors.
Bumblebee, look out!
Don't split yet, right? The party's just starting. This ought to shake you up.
What a sorry sight for sore eyes. Starscream, wait!
However, Megatron orders his troops to actually let the Autobots win. And they do. So the Autobots are able to get on the space bridge and go to Cybertron. However, this is all part of Megatron's plan. Of course, it would be nice if he let Shockwave in on the plan, who's quite surprised when the Autobots storm into his command center, and probably a bit more annoyed when they proceed to storm out. At the same time, Megatron orders 3 Starscream repaints, Elite Seeker Rainmakers to attack the Autobots. But seriously, after this episode, you can pretty much forget about the entire existence of these 3 guys. Out of all 3, only Acid Storm is name-dropped, and I'm pretty sure that's because of retconning reasons. Although he was deemed worthy enough to get a masterpiece release many years later. So the Autobots are able to gain entry to Wheeljack's old lab and actually find the component they need. However, on their way out, they're accosted by the Rainmakers, who use their specialised acid rain attack to disable the Autobots. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Megatron and the other Earth-based Decepticons decide that this is the perfect opportunity to attack the other Autobots. However, all hope isn't lost, as it turns out Chip is actually immune to acid rain. And alien atmospheres, apparently. He then proceeds to recite a little motivational speech, which I suspect he's told to himself multiple times in the mirror.
No one's ever really disabled as long as he has courage.
The Autobots, not wishing to listen to any more of his bullshit, find the courage to keep on going. Trailbreaker, remembering his one dimension as a character, activates his force field and blocks the rain. And the Autobots are able to get away from the Rainmakers. They then storm their way back into Shockwave's place and take the space bridge back to Earth. Back at the Autobot base, the Autobots are concerned without Optimus Prime and the Decepticons about to attack, they're surely going to lose. Spike, not wanting to be outdone in the speech department, grabs one of the giant-sized Transformer guns and calls them all a bunch of snivelling liberals for not fighting to the death. The Autobots, getting quite inspired by this, heroically charge out to face the Decepticons, and almost immediately they each individually get chumped out. However, the Autobots get reinforcements from the Cybertron team, unfortunately does very little for them to turn the tide of the battle. And just as all hope looks lost, Optimus Prime appears. He slaps Megatron around and then proceeds to shoot him in the, groin area? The Decepticons make a rather humiliated and hasty retreat, while as a change of pace, Spike actually gets the last word in this episode.
They'll be back. I just know it. They'll be back.